Okay, so I'm going to call to order tonight's Board of Directors meeting for Montessori Peaks Academy at 6:36 p.m. Tuesday, September 19th. Rebecca, if you could do roll call.
Irit.
Here.
Justin.
Here.
Mercedes.
Here.
I am here, and Ted.
Here.
Got it. Thank you.
Right, and just to note for the record that Emily is out, Terry is out, Miss Elizabeth is out. I'm gonna think.
Adam.
And Adam is delayed with his flight, so he'll join us if he is able to when he lands. So we'll just make a note in the minutes if he joins us, what time he joined us. So barely, we have a quorum, and we'll keep going. So mission statement for Montessori Peaks Academy. It is the mission of Montessori Peaks Academy to achieve high standards of individual excellence by guiding the whole student through an exceptional learning experience based on the educational philosophy of Maria Montessori. I personally did not receive any community comments. Did anybody else? No? Okay. Moving on. I'll hand it off to you, Robin.
Okay, perfect. All right. So everybody should have received the principal report and also the copy of the UIP. And just wanted to go through the subheadings there. So staffing updates, we've finally filled the assistant for Mr. Todd. So he's really excited and happy, and I think it's going well. She just started this week, but all seems to be going well. We had discussed the need for additional 4 hours of office support. I'm not sure we're going down that path anymore because the medical need that we were talking about, we seem to have been able to streamline that and kind of, train everybody appropriately. So I think everybody's very comfortable with it. So we're thinking that's not needed. And Jen Webb, interrupt me if that has not changed, but that's what the impression I'm under. This is something, I meet with Nick weekly now, and he has brought up possibly needing some extra support, especially as we go into, eventually move to a second building. But, he and I are going to continue discussing that some. I have worked at several buildings, and especially my last one, a facilities manager can get very overwhelmed, and consistently working long hours is not a good thing because they will burn out. So, I'll just keep talking with them and keep an eye on things and see what we need to do. Enrollment update. We are full. And it's pretty stable. We have some movement in preschool, and then we've even brought some new ones in, I think in the past week even. So the October 1st count is really the big one. It's the final determination of the PPR. So we're just hoping we remain stable through that period. And once we have that amount, and we know it for sure, then, we can move forward with making some decisions with budgeting. So community and culture building. So we really, September is always a busy month. But we had the flag raising ceremony, really nice job by the MPA Boy and Girl Scouts. We didn't have a ton of people turn out, but it was enough. And it really was a nice way to start the day. And the Scouts did a great job. And the flag looks beautiful because when I first pulled up to MPA, the flag looked like it had been through a war. I think it was just a hailstorm, but it looks like it had been through a war. So we're pretty excited to have the new flag. Back to school night. Hopefully many of you were there, or all of you were there, but it was a full house in the gym. And I think that, our big goal was, number one, is to get the teachers to be able to present what they needed to parents and discuss the expectations in the classroom, but also with that principal speech, really messaging, really providing a level of comfort to parents with a new principal transition. So based on the feedback I have so far from parents, that's definitely something that I feel, I received a lot of positive feedback. So I'm thinking that hopefully the mission was achieved. The back to school social, I want to give a big thanks to Anna and Caitlin. We had to, first of all, move dates because of the supposed rain that never happened. But when Caitlin showed up before I did, and when she showed up, they were working on the parking lot and they weren't supposed to. So she called me in a panic, and we quickly moved it all. And the three of us really set up the whole thing, and it went well. We definitely had some rain in the middle, but it was a nice opportunity for people to connect. Really talked about next year, maybe doing the same setup because we liked that. I think a lot of parents liked it because they could keep watch over their children better than I think how it was arranged in the past, but also possibly maybe doing it during the week after school or in the evening, maybe seeing if we could get more attendance that way, because it is hard when it breaks up some of these weekend people are on trips this time of year and that type of thing. So we'll keep talking about that. The 9/22 staff workday coming up. So I'll keep on unless there's a need to change it, doing really a little over half the day with PD and half the day really allowing teachers to work in their classrooms and also have meetings. So what we're going to be focusing on this week is we have some required READ Act training that everybody has to do. And then we also have some social emotional coming from our OT. So she'll be doing the zones of regulation. And that will apply to all, like the special teachers and everyone. And then finally, we will really be honing in on the UIP need as long as this passes tonight of written expression. We know whether the UIP passes or not, that's an area of need at MPA based on the data. And we've already been discussing it some, but really I don't want to drop the ball on that. We're going to have a little bit of PD, but also team level discussions to collaborate on how they're going to address these things in their classroom. And that time in the afternoon is really a big deal for teachers to be able to prep some, but also have some meetings that they don't have the time for. So that's why I always allow some time for things like that. So that's what we'll be doing. And PTA is providing bagels and coffee. So we're excited about that. So thank you, PTA. And then finally, you know, a bulk of my time really for the past week or so has been working on the UIP. We really, I'll tell you what we went through. We've done with the teachers data analysis since the first week in August. We've been doing that based on the CMAS results. And then we brought that to Roundtable and gained some input from them. And then the reason we didn't have a Roundtable meeting for September is because right after that meeting, within the next 2 weeks, they had to facilitate a meeting with their own teams where they discussed, okay, this is what we're finding in the data, and teams had to brainstorm, okay, this is what we're already doing. These are some strategies we suggest. So when we crafted the UIP, we took those things into account and included the strategies they brought up for their levels. And then we also took the UIP in front of the SAC team and reviewed that and went through, mainly, we don't go into all the details there unless they ask for it, which normally people don't, because it's a very lengthy document, as you know, because we sent it to you. We went through the performance challenges, the root causes, and improvement strategies. One of the things I talked about was, you know, looking at the UIP. I mean, I've written several and coming in, I really wanted to streamline it. I've seen many UIPs over the years, and I'm really trying to hone in on what the data is actually showing, even though it's not all about test data, but that is a very good indication if you see some gaps, and then really streamlining it so it's easy to read and it makes sense to everyone and really is input from everyone. So the draft has been submitted to lead teachers and SAC and the board of directors, obviously, and really haven't had no further feedback so far. So I guess that's good, except to read. She had me correct a couple things. Apparently I'd put the action steps as last year in May, and that's not good. So I changed the dates. That's all updated. The final's not due till October 16th, but because of my personality type, I'd really like to submit it soon. So that way it's in early, but we definitely have time to make changes, and it's not hard to do as long as they're not huge changes, actually. And that's really that. I included on the principal report just some important dates coming up. You know, we've got the Dewey's Dash, the kickoff already happened. And so we'll be focusing on that because that's a big fundraiser, obviously, you know, for the school. And really this week, it's the International Peace Day ceremony at the flagpole on Thursday morning. And then also we have the ceremony from the Jeffco Public Library because MPA, we're excited. They had our summer readers won for the charter school category. So that's pretty exciting. So that's what we're doing this week. And then the staff in service. So all in all, things are going really well. Just the normal types of, you know, everyday things that schools deal with. But yeah, so, and I think really the other, big positive I hear from teachers right now is it really does take this long for behavior to kind of normalize in the beginning of the year. And that's what we're seeing right now is now, especially with the younger students, they're settling in. We're getting fewer calls in the walkie-talkie because they're more comfortable coming in. So that's always a good point in the year for teachers. Any questions?
My one question is with count day. In the past, we've gotten emails as families, these are count days, please don't plan extra appointments or vacations or whatnot.
Yeah.
Is that gonna happen? Are we skipping that this year? What's the plan?
No, I can definitely send that out. And you're right. I didn't even think of that. And that's something we can send out. Yeah, this week. And I can start putting in the newsletter, but also we'll send a final reminder right before that happens, because that is a big deal. So we can
And I
definitely get
think
that done.
explaining to parents that the count affects our budget.
Yep.
Not super wordy, but just like a quick one-liner, why count is important.
Yes.
May influence, because some parents are like, oh, well, we had a dentist appointment at 10, so we stayed, home,
Right.
and then we just didn't, and they missed the count.
Right. Yep. No, I will definitely get that done, because you are correct. Perfect. Anyone else?
Unless nobody else has questions, I think we should roll right into UIP, since you kind of started talking through it.
Yes.
If there's additional information you want to make sure that the board knows, or, I mean, everybody got it. So if people have specific questions.
Yep.
Because it does go to the state.
Yep. And what we based on two of the hopefully everybody has it in front of them, and it is a long document. Really took some time looking at that data. That's one of the things Aaron and I love to do, actually. So, and the data clearly highlighted a need in written expression. Our reading's pretty strong, so it's very unusual in a population like ours, is what we told the SAC committee too. I mean, I discussed this with the district has open labs for testing out our data analysis, and I love going to those, and spoke with them about it too, and just said, this is what I'm seeing, and they concurred. That's unusual, so that means that's an area we need to address, because it doesn't make sense. So that's why we selected. It is a big change from last year's UIP. I know it really was pretty much rewritten on purpose. These are the real identified needs that we're working on right now. So the written expression, but that also applies to mathematical modeling and reasoning, which is foundational skills, but it's also explaining your mathematical thinking, which really all schools across the district and state struggle with as well. The behavior support normalization we put in, because we're still not struggling, but we're still working on some of the behaviors that surfaced after COVID. And you'll hear teachers say sometimes in the younger students, we really have never seen this behavior before. It's not only at MPA, it's other places. It's gotten a lot better, but that's why that's in there, because we're going to continue to refine those systems and support them with that behavior, and hopefully get those kids, on the track they need to be on. So with that being said, I assume you have the reports in front of you. I don't want to read the whole thing to you, because that would be terrible for you. But any questions on the performance challenges? And if I keep looking off, it's because I have my other screen up and it in front of me so I can see it. The root causes, or really the improvement strategies, because that on 922 is one of the things we're going to start targeting is, okay, we've said we're going to do this. How are we going to do it? Any questions?
So Robin, this is Ted. Quick question, if that's okay.
Sure.
So yeah, first, I thought the report looks really good, and really liked the improvement strategies and everything that was laid out. So this is my first time reading a report like this. Is this I guess I just ask, is it the right level of detail, or will they be asking, is there like an objective figure you can put in that would be like, and this is going to amount like, trying to pick one here, but for the typing samples or things like that, those exercises, do you have to talk about how that's going to now take up, instead of being 2% of the previous curriculum, it's going to go up to 5% of their time or something like that? Or is that just overkill? You don't need to get that into the weeds for this type of report.
So what I did also is I looked at, because you can get on and look at anybody's UIPs on the system, and just to, I'm used to Denison's obviously and Manning's, but just went on and looked at everyone's, and this is actually much more explicit than, I did that on purpose because I wanted to be very targeted. There are like some quantitative measures like that would be overkill. Not that it's a bad idea, but I mean, later on, I did put in there, in the end, what people do is they'll say, we would like to see a certain amount of percentage points increase on, MAP or CMAS, even though we know testing is not our predominant focus at MPA. That is an indicator for us that what we're doing is working. So that's really at the very tail end of that report, you'll see something like that. That's about as much detail as people go into as far as quantitative. Like, for example, at Manning, their goal was to increase ELA by 1% in the median growth percentile. That's all they said.
Okay. Perfect.
Now,
yeah, I assume there's probably too much in the weeds. You don't need that much detail on the curriculum, but I just wanted to make sure that we were just to ask the question. So that's great.
Yeah. I'm trying to get an
A+
really on this. Yeah. I'm trying to get an A+ on this. but we'll see. Anyone else?
So just for people listening or watching, when this gets posted online, just because we make that a targeted place due to the testing that the state does, because that's how they figure out who their performance schools are, that does not mean we're going outside the Montessori curriculum.
Right. Right. In fact,
I just wanted to state that for people so they understand.
Mhm. And I'm glad you brought that up. In our, Beth and I were just planning out our September 22nd PD time. And one of the things we're bringing in is we're having ECUT come in and talk about Montessori handwriting, because that really is a big component of this as well, because students are coming up to Upper L and not be able to do the handwriting. So then the content's difficult. But everything we're doing is targeting, like pulling off articles with Montessori curriculum and having them research that and then talk in their teams about what they're already doing and what they can improve on. And it really is about tweaking curriculum. And yes, I'm really glad you brought that up, because that's what this is about. It's not what we noticed is there seems to be an inconsistency in the Montessori in our school right now about how writing is being taught. And that's what we're seeing in the scores. So it's making sure the newer teachers are aligned with probably what some of the veteran teachers are already doing and that type of thing. So good point, Nareet. Anyone else?
Any other questions or clarifications from anybody before this goes to a vote? So the reason we vote on this is because the board has to approve it before it gets sent, because it goes to the state and it goes in a big database and it's done yearly. And until we approve it, the school cannot send it out.
Mm-hmm. And I would say the one good, and one thing that came up in SAC by Sarah R. Erin and I purposely took out there last year. We had a goal for the ALP students, and she was asking, well, what about those students? And that was the one question we had come from SAC, and our response was, what we're seeing is that our ALP students, as well as all of the other groups, are scoring low in written expression. So singling out ALP for what we need to focus on doesn't make sense, because that's a challenge with all the students. It's also the best way to elevate higher level thinking across all demographics, including ALP students.
Okay, guys. So in order to make a decision, I'm going to let somebody motion which way they'd like the vote to go. I cannot make a motion myself.
This is Ted. I'll move to approve the document in substantially the form as it exists, with any minor modifications as the group sees fit, which are finalizing.
I can second for you, Reed. This is Justin.
Thank you. Rebecca, can you go ahead and take the vote?
Yep. Nareet.
Yes.
Justin. Justin.
Sorry, yes.
Thank you. Mercedes.
Yes.
I am voting yes. And Ted.
Yes.
Thank you.
With that, the motion passes. And we'll move on to talking about the North Building.
Ooh.
Fun. So I'll do good news first. I was able to take the 7th graders on a quick walk through the building. Rhett was able to see it as well. The kids were excited about the space. Rhett was excited about the space, talked about how big it feels. So they're looking forward to being able to move in there. And that was just a very good positive that we had today. The roof. So I sent out a report to everybody on the board. I was able to get the information that report was actually from spring of 2022. And it was pretty detailed with a lot of pictures. And the reality is that my instinct is that at this point, it can't just be patched. When the building was bought, and Justin, you've been on the board longer than I am, so correct me if I have the incorrect information, was that there was awareness that the roof would need to be replaced. So part of the question is how much more damage has been caused on the roof since it was bought by storms and whatnot versus what is going on with the roof was as it was bought. So we have had one company walk through it recently, and it's the same company that did that report. I talked to the person who put it together and tried to get an estimate on how much it would cost to get a new one. It was quite a big range that I got, but my understanding is it would be in the ballpark of $250,000 to get a new roof from B&M Roofing. Obviously, don't have a final number. He said between 180 and 300, but he had no idea because he had to get final numbers on certain materials and things and then take it to senior representatives from the company to get a sign off. Hopefully I'll get that final estimate later this week. We'd like to get some other quotes from other companies, preferably 2 more. Nick is working on that, but that's where we're at right now. So I wanted to throw that out there if anybody has questions or discussion points. I know that that kind of roof should have a long roof life. I don't know what year the roof got installed on that building. I only know what the report looked like in the pictures that I saw. So questions, thoughts?
I want to follow up to what Yuri said that we are having a lot of work done on the inside of the building. And we do want to consider that a new roof may help protect all of that. It's essentially an asset now, to make sure that all of the work that's already been done, you know, the new drywall, the paint, the carpets, the floors, the walls, the windows, all of that stuff, we don't want to disregard all of the cost and time and effort that has been put in. And then it rains again and everything gets flooded and we have to start over. So just something to consider when we think about a roof is not just the roof, but also everything that's underneath it.
Are there any areas to save some expense? I had one of these roofs on a much smaller property. It was fourplex in the Springs. I think I shared that with you. It was same material made by Firestone, same folks that make the tires, obviously, for the rubber roof is essentially what it is. And these things are really good. They're impact resistant to a certain degree on hail and everything else. But I'm wondering if do we need to do the rock replacement on the roof, or could that be removed and not replaced? I don't know if there's a cost savings in there. It's probably the biggest, and Rebecca, I think you specialize in engineering, can probably speak to this, but it's going to be lifting those AC units and getting everything done in and around that. It's a big job. But I totally agree with what Rebecca said. You're trying to protect what's under it. We spent a lot of money under it.
Yeah, I'm in the same place. We're spending a lot of money on what's going on in the building. And while they've been doing the work, they being the people in the building have found, I think it's like 5 different leaks now. And they're marking where they are on the inside, trying to preserve everything that they're doing. But I'm a little frustrated. I didn't realize how bad of a condition it was. My instinct is we need to get it replaced. The question becomes, is it worth trying to get somebody out there to see if we can get some of it reimbursed? And I don't know the answer to that. I'm torn after seeing the report from a year and a half ago.
Who would reimburse us?
We'd have to file a claim on the insurance that was on the building at that time, because I'm assuming the worst of the storms from this past year were like May, June, even April, when we had that one that had the tornado warning. and
Yeah.
the kids stayed late at school. So it would be under the insurance policy that was with the district. But the question is like, does it make sense to file that? I don't know what happens if we do. It's a process. We need somebody to be working with Jen. I don't want to put that all in her lap on top of everything else she does every day. So
Is there a report from when we purchased the building between this one and earlier?
Jen, I don't know if you were able to dig anything up on the condition of the roof at the time of purchase. I know you've looked for documents on the building.
Well, what Seth provided us was what was during the purchase.
The one that was emailed us to us recently,
Mhm.
I called B&M Roofing, and the date I got from that report, hold on, I put it on the document that I sent out.
I thought you said 2022.
Custom roof report. It was April 24th, 2022. And the person who wrote the report gave me a specific date.
Mm.
So it was
And the
not
building
purchase.
was purchased in 2020, is that right? And that was actually purchased prior to my time on the board. So
Okay.
all I know is when I came to the board, we were really proud of a new building we owned. So, but it would be interesting, and I wonder if it'd be worthwhile to maybe put those reports side by side, or have like this Michael Springer who did this roof inspection, kind of compare apples to apples and say, look at how much worse it is since the purchase inspection, which I hope we had done. And that would help us make the case to insurance that a lot of this has occurred with recent storm activity, hail damage, etc.
So Jen, I don't know if it's within the purchase documents on the building that were saved on that computer.
Mhm.
Anything that you can find, feel free to send over to me to look
So
at.
I'm looking at this report from Seth, and it says on May 8th, 2020, Montessori Peaks Academy retained RF Consulting to perform a condition assessment of the facility. This is the original report. And in this report, it says the roof is old and needs to be replaced.
Yeah. So I don't know if they just amended it. But I mean, that was my sense. I know Emily's not here. Emily communicated with me that she spoke with a former board member who was on the board at the time the building was purchased, and they agreed the roof needs replacing. That they knew that when they bought the building. The question was, how long could we push it out?
And
Especially
this document states it's well past its wear.
yeah. So
Arit, how much does that run us over budget, or was this originally part of the budget?
So that's the other piece that I want to talk about is the budget. The scope of the project for the remodel did not include the roof whatsoever. In my mind, the 150 that the board approved last year in December for the programming has nothing to do with the roof. The roof is its own separate beast. I don't want to package it together. The roof is going to have to come from reserve funds, which the school has, and it has it for a reason. And when the building was purchased, those on the board knew what the reserve funds looked like and that it was possible to do it when it needed to be done. So that my recommendation is where the money come from. And it's, in my opinion, the way that I see it in my mind is it's totally separate from the scope of the project that's going on in the building. It's
And
coming.
is it not worth pursuing an insurance claim on it?
I mean, from what I'm hearing from Jen, from what I've heard from others, my concern is the answer to that is no. Am I an insurance and roof expert? Absolutely not. So I'm torn on that.
Jen, would it be worth our time just talking to our insurance provider to ask them, you know, flat out, is this going to, you know, hurt us on our premium? Or
So Justin, let me fill you in real quick. The insurance piece has to do with what the district dropped in terms of what they provide for schools. Our current policy is a new policy that we got as a school, separate from the district. And correct me if I'm wrong, Jen, I think that started July 1st. So we would be asking for the old policy to
Correct.
cover something.
How is that possible?
So the building was
I mean,
covered.
if I change from, and I'm sorry, I'm putting it in my
But
own
okay,
homeowners,
so
if I
if
change
you
this.
if you change homeowner policies, but you call, like if you changed now, but you called about a storm that took place in May or June, they would ask you that it would be under your old policy, that it was covered because it happened during the time of the old policy.
Our current provider wasn't our provider at the time of the damage.
Does that put our current coverage at risk for being dropped, like for residential?
I don't know.
I think we should have a frank conversation with our insurance provider to find out the pros and cons if we were to make a claim, just so we know.
With our current provider, just kind of insurance guy.
Yeah,
What's
and
our
just,
thoughts?
theoretical. If we
Okay.
made this claim, would it hurt our current policy? Would it hurt our, what are the odds? I mean, is it worth chasing down if they say, yeah, you're never going to get that? I just think we need to ask those questions, and all of it theoretical. We don't have to be plotting and planning, and we don't want to scare our insurance policy holder now. But I think due diligence would probably be appropriate, since it's
Yeah.
such a large expense.
I definitely think
Okay.
that's a valid conversation, to have, just to find out. I find it hard to believe we would get any kind of claim process because we bought it. And we already had the report that said the roof was already in a poor condition. So I find it really, I would be shocked, right?
I'm surprised we were able to get insurance for it with the roof in the condition it was when we bought it. I've been through a home purchase where they wouldn't insure.
Actually, we don't have insurance on it. I mean, hold on. Right now, it's covered under HPM. And once they have it's called something, some type of policy on it. And then once the construction's done, then it gets added to our policy.
So it's because they're doing construction in the building. It's probably a policy that not only protects what they're working on, but, a full
Mhm.
insurance safety situation for construction.
Yeah.
companies. But I don't think the leaks are something that's new during the construction time. I think they were very lightly band-aided to provide protection against water damage, but from what I heard during the construction meetings when it first came up recently, a new roof would definitely be helpful rather than some kind of patch job.
I also think it would be a terrible thing if we finally get the middle school and homeschool in there, and then all of a sudden we have to do the roof and,
We have to evacuate.
yeah, like yeah, that sounds.
That
I
would
mean,
be bad.
Based on the report, I think it would be irresponsible to try to continue the school in there without the roof. It's been not a roof since we bought it. So, it's time.
So having
Hold on. This says, EPDM roofing has an expected surface life of 20 years according to the manufacturer. At this altitude, that life expectancy is only about 15 years. The roof has exceeded its expected service life by several years and should be replaced. So that's why I don't want to waste my time with the claim. They're going to come out or ask us how old our roof is, and
It'll
we
be
can't. It's done.
Yep.
So
Well,
here,
and more importantly, Jen, you bought the place with the bad roof, and hopefully that was priced in, because that's why you do the building inspection, right?
Yeah.
So they came back and said, your roof's in bad shape. And
we
at
said,
that
okay,
point,
it's still worth it.
right. Or I'm assuming they negotiated down the price. That's probably why
Yeah.
it was such a good deal. So yeah. So we probably built that into our purchase.
so
I
here's where I'm at. I'm asking B&M to get me their estimate. I was told I would have it by the end of this week. Nick is looking for other vendors, and I would like to have those numbers as soon as possible. As I have them, I will send them out to the whole board. I'm going to include Robin and Jen on those emails so they can see the numbers. If we have the information we need, I might call a meeting in order to discuss and approve or not approve whichever vendor we decide to go with. My hope is not to rush it, to do our due diligence and to do it the right way, but also not to do it at a snail's pace and wait for another meeting that was previously scheduled in order to make a decision. I don't want extra leaks if we get snowstorms. You just don't know when they're coming.
True.
Is everybody okay with that? I originally was hoping that the roof could last long enough that we could write a grant to help us pay for it. Mercedes volunteered to help with that. Since I don't think that's going to happen, Mercedes, I'm going to have you still write that grant request to that organization. I think we're a good fit for them, but we're going to turn that towards the south building, whether it's new
We need a roof
flooring
too.
or a new roof or new HVAC. There are definitely things that need to be done in that building. There's a whole report done by the state on the age of different things and
Water
systems.
heater. That's a
Yes,
main
I was
one.
just about to say, Nick told me the water heater's gonna be
He's
replaced
paranoid about
based
that
on
thing.
age. So Mercedes, I'm gonna have you work with Nick a little bit. I might have that report on my computer and I can send it to you. It's a report on the building and different things that need to be done at different times. But I still would like us to apply for that grant. I think we're a good fit for what they're looking for. And we definitely have capital improvements that need to be done on that building.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. So that's the situation with the roof. On to sinks. I promised one of the people that is in the building for HPM on a daily basis, Sergio, he would have an email from me at the end of the night tonight, how many sinks we are voting to approve. I have one proxy, but I gave the sink cost out in the packet. Hope everybody's had a chance to see it. I see it from two different sides. One is how much do we want to spend at this time on that building? One is required, in my opinion, for the program. Two would be better. Three is ideal in order to have a sink in every classroom, especially with the Montessori pedagogy that we are trying to make sure that we follow at all times at MPA. And if we look at building towards the future without having to redo any parts of the building, which would then be at a higher cost because we'd be tearing some stuff out to get sinks put in. But I don't want to decide on my own whether we go 1, 2, or 3. So I'm going to bring that to you guys to either discuss or motion for vote.
Are these just sinks for the rooms, and are they gold lame?
So the price
No, they're 24 karat gold.
I would.
Jeez.
I'd take them for myself. No. So it includes labor, all the plumbing, hardware stuff, the sinks themselves, and electrical, and different flooring around the sink that hasn't been paid for because right now we're scheduled to do carpet, and I just don't think that's a good idea right next to a sink.
Nope.
No. And then, so I take it there's no plumbing running. So this includes running the water lines to these rooms. Okay.
So one of the rooms, the cheapest room, has plumbing lines that are close by, but not in exactly the right location. And it includes running those pipes, yes, to all the sinks. That's included in the numbers.
And what's the price if we just stubbed out the third room, let's say, and did the first two? Do we know
So
what that
if
would
we
look like?
decided not to do the third one, which is the middle room, and only do the two, where is that? Or sink pricing. So room 204 is the middle room, and 201 and 207 are the rooms on either side. So to do the rooms on either end of the hallway is 20,684, and to do the middle room adds another 11,703 because there is more piping that needs to be put in place to get to that location.
Right, but would it be 20,684 and they would stem out 204 if they did 201 and 207? In other words,
No.
there'd be capped
Yes.
pipes that they would later install.
No, we would, if we wanted to do 204 in the future, they would have to run the piping for that.
But that's not 11,703. That's just for the whole thing.
The 11,703 includes the piping, the flooring, the sink
Right.
itself, the electrical around the sink, all that stuff.
I
Something
mean,
to keep in mind, Justin, so if we defer off that middle sink for later, we also then have to include the price for demolition and then making the space empty and housing. Like if that is being used as a classroom or something, those kids might have to move, they'll have to find new space, they'll have to tear open the wall, the floor, all of those things. And not just in that space, they'd have to tear it open like along the whole length of the wall, right? Because they're going to have to put all that piping in if we do just that room separately. Whereas right now, if the walls are all open, they can run all of the piping and the electrical at one time. And then do, we won't have to worry about like demo costs on top of these costs later,
Right.
because that
Yeah.
costs a lot of money too.
Yes, so these
No,
quoted
I hear you,
prices are
Rebecca. I
for
agree.
right now.
Yeah, I agree with you, Rebecca. And I'm of the mindset, you know, if I was doing this in my own home, I'd just get it all done at once. Don't mess with it later because you're undoing what you finished just a couple of years ago or a few years ago. So I'll do the demo. Won't be nearly as expensive and I can get some stress out.
Yeah.
Let's have a teacher's demo day.
I'll schedule that in. That'll be on 9/22 if you want it in the afternoon.
Any other thoughts from anybody else about the situation?
No,
I just
I'm aligned with
I'm
one
all
and
for
three.
good. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead, Ted.
Oh, no, I think I'm aligned with going with 3. I think it's the right thing to do right now.
Yeah, I kind of
And
feel
do
like
you need
if we
a
have
vote
the
on
money.
this? Sorry, Robin.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead,
Okay.
do it.
Reed, are you done with discussion then?
I'm leaving it to you guys to discuss as much as you need, and when somebody feels like the board is ready to make a motion.
Is there any more discussion needed on this? Anybody have any further input?
It's so easy to discuss $10,000 when you're discussing 250.
Yeah, this is drop in the bucket. No
Right?
pun
Come
intended.
on.
I am not
Yeah.
going to officially use a proxy for her, but Emily did tell me that she was in support of going for 3.
If there's no further discussion, I'll make a motion to purchase all 3 and get them all done at the same time. Anybody want a second?
Yep, I'll second.
Great, Ted. We're on the hook for this.
On for everything tonight.
Rebecca, can you take the vote, please?
Okay. Erete,
I'm going to vote yes.
Justin,
Yes.
Mercedes.
Yes.
I'm gonna vote yes as well, and Ted, that's up to you now.
Yes.
Okay, so Erete, this one passes.
Okay. So with that, it passes. We'll go for 3. I will send the HPM folks in the building an email tonight so they can get going on that. So it doesn't affect the schedule too much. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
And I'm sorry, Reed, I wasn't quite clear, but what are the next steps on the roof then?
Okay, so I am waiting for the numbers from B&M Roofing. They are supposed to be to me by the end of the week. I will send that to the board as well as a CC to Robin and Jen so they can see what those numbers look like. Jen and Nick have a list of vendors approved by Jeffco for all sorts of different things. And Nick is checking it to see if there are roofing vendors on that list. And I'm assuming contacting them to try and get their numbers / estimates on that project.
Yeah, I gave him a list of the roofers in Jeffco, so he's just gonna pick a couple closest.
Okay. As soon as I have that information, I will send it to you guys as well. I think it is our best practice to get numbers from 3 different companies. And I will try and push that to happen as quickly as possible. And I think as soon as we have that, we just need to convene for a meeting and make a decision. so that the companies can order any parts needed and get it done ASAP. I will also have to coordinate that with the current project going on in the building, obviously, and just work with the HPM folks to see how that works. If the roof has to be done at the end, or if there's a certain time when they're still doing finishing touches or painting in the building where the roof can be worked on. I don't know enough about that type of work and that type of roof to know what can and cannot be done at different times. So that'll have to be worked out in the schedule. If that pushes back by a couple of weeks to get the 7th graders in there, so be it. I actually did a lot of processing with them when we came out today and talked about it. And one of the 7th graders looked at me, he goes, well, why would we have all this new stuff in the building and then ruin it? I said, okay, you guys get it. And they appreciated that I had completely updated them on the realities of what was going on.
Did, or does the school have the ability to fundraise or do anything around this if we wanted to try to offset costs?
I was gonna say yes, but I also know that the PTA just launched Dewey's Dash. I mean, it would be great if we said, you know, we'd love extra support because we have this going on. I don't know if that would change anything. I am trying to push for grants and keeping my eyes and ears out for any kind of grant that would help the school in any way. And I'm kind of putting this out there to the rest of the board as well to look for that and the community, because if we can get other things funded, it would help offset the cost as well.
How about engraved bricks with your family name if you contribute to the roof?
You know, I'm not against that idea. And we
you put them on the roof and then no one knows that you never actually put, I'm kidding.
I mean, we could line one of the walkways or sidewalks with something like that. I don't know how much it costs to get something like that put in place or something like that run. I mean, if you've ever done it before, Justin, you're more than welcome to take it on.
I'm not, but you know, my daughter has a lot of free time. You could make her start a GoFundMe page, keep a roof over our heads.
I mean, I'm open to any ideas, so I'm not against the idea of the brick kind of thing. A lot of families like to be a part of something like that and have their name in kind of a lasting place. It's not the worst idea.
Thanks.
I mean, it could even
of
be
all the ones I've provided.
I actually really liked last year's mailing of the postcards.
Yeah.
I thought that was brilliant.
Yeah, you could do a wall inside the building too with plaques, you know, commemorative plaques of families that contributed. So it doesn't have to be a sidewalk, you know, a sidewalk you're not, you know.
These families kept the roof over our head. Yeah, you could.
I think ceiling tiles would be more appropriate.
Ooh,
yeah, Jen, but you're going to have to engrave each one of them.
No, the kids can paint them.
Yeah.
There's
an idea in there. Yeah.
Painting of ceiling tile. You get to paint a ceiling tile if you've donated X amount of dollars towards the roof.
$10 per square inch.
Although I can see the teachers, the Montessori teachers saying if it does not align with the color scheme of Montessori, this would be a problem.
I actually like the idea of some kind of tree form in the hallway with either like little plaques or names somehow around them, like leaves. I think that would actually look good.
That's a good idea.
So I don't know if any of the teachers in the building know of anything of that sort, or if there's companies out there that do that. I think it's time to research that idea and do it quickly somehow.
I think it'd be easy enough to get a tree painted and once they're done with the building. And then I'm sure that's pretty easy to find, like the little melody, because you can get things engraved all the time these days.
Probably Megan can help.
Yeah.
Question becomes how much it would cost per leaf, quote unquote.
Right.
And then you want to make sure you're making enough money out of it.
Right.
To make it worthwhile.
Right.
It adds another 50 grand to the roof because of all the engraving. Yeah, that's the wrong way. So,
right.
Yeah.
Oh, I think that's actually a nice idea, and it could actually look really nice in the building. So let's do some research and figure that out. Okay, so with that, I'm going to move us along. If I can find the agenda again. Okay, so that's North Building updates. Rebecca and I have the weekly OAC, owner architect contractor meetings every Thursday morning. So if there's another big thing that comes out of that, I will send out information. So switching over, committee reports, finance, Justin and Jen, or Jen.
I'm
Finance.
yielding the floor to Jen.
Okay.
Jen's gonna leave me hanging. Jen, you're muted.
She's probably finding the document.
Shuffle, shuffle.
Yeah. Hopefully everybody received it and got a chance to look at it. Jen highlighted some stuff for us. I don't have it in front of me. Where is it? Budget versus actuals. I mean, I don't see anything super concerning on there. If we want, let's just skip over to the next one, just in case. I mean, I have to get up sometimes, see what else is going on in the house. So, who's next on that? Where am I?
Marketing.
Is it marketing? Sorry, I
Yeah.
was just looking for my marketing notes.
Like, where's my
Thanks,
agenda?
Rebecca, for throwing me under the bus. I'm also getting ready here. Marketing committee met Thursday, September 7th. It was Adam, Heather, and I. We had 2 members who were not able to make it. We're going to come up with a schedule of messages that we'd like to get displayed on the new digital sign out on Kipling, and kind of just provide a calendar lineup so that we have things cycling forward and we're constantly moving on to the next, in-service days and et cetera, like it's doing now, and it's great. Also, Adam explored updating the analog sign out in front of the school there on Capri. That came with a pretty hefty price tag. So now we have a roof fundraiser and a fix our front sign. Actually, I'd like to see in the interim the possibility of maybe putting some students together to take over that sign with obviously adult supervision, but they could go out there and maybe update it on a weekly basis. So it's not, talking about Labor Day. There's no school on Labor Day and that kind of thing. Kind of like a school announcement system, but instead of over the PA, they're monitoring and maintaining that out front. So not sure exactly what student or class or who we might focus on for that, but it's an idea we're rolling around. We have invited a PTA member. Actually, we've invited the PTA president's husband to participate on our marketing committee so that we have kind of a relay and a conduit back and forth between the PTA and us, especially with the changeover from Amanda and having new folks in charge. Jen had mentioned, Jen handled, the district was asking about a rebranding, and we weren't real clear on that. I don't know that we've got an answer just yet. Heather was going to follow up with her, and I don't think she's back yet, so we don't have an answer there. And then, dream gig would be to have somebody maybe even part-time on staff that could be a part-time communications, public relations, marketing kind of go-to who handles the social. This could be the adult that oversees the students putting stuff on the sign. Kind of a down the road idea, but that's something the marketing committee came up as kind of one of their dream goals.
I would add grant writer to that.
Sure. And assistant to Nate. Let's see. So there's also some discussion of new logo for the school. We've been rolling through some ideas. And I think what we would do is likely put it up to a community vote of the teachers and the parents and the students and use that as a learning experience as well.
Can we do that after the North Building's done, please? Can we just hold off?
No, we'll have it in place, and it'll be ready to just slap up on the side of the building, just a giant decal. We'll iron it right on. Well, even if
You're
we come
in
up with
charge,
something,
you can use your ladder.
yeah. Remember, the marketing committee just puts ideas forward. You guys can vote them all down. We want to put out an effort to get our Google reviews bumped up and have happy parents post happy little 5-star reviews. And I think we need a campaign to kind of promote that amongst parents that are satisfied. And there was discussion about maybe a good neighbor day where we could go over and have the kids do something with goodie bags or sweet little notes about we're so happy you're our neighbors or something with the condo community next door, since we do tend to park in front of all their units for 15 to 20 minutes each day. But I think it would be a good way to maybe just kind of build inroads with them and something the students could put together as kind of an outreach effort. I think that was about it. And our next meeting's coming up on the 28th, and we'll have a new report for you in October.
Thank
I
you.
think we will do the direct mail again too, just so you know. Probably more of a general statement. We're going to work on this year's message being a little bit more general, but you know, the idea, if you go back to the old saying, you know, what is it? The concept of stopping a watch to save time is as sensible as stopping advertising to save money. Sorry, it's an old marketing thing. Basically what we're saying is you should always keep your name front and center, because you know you're always going to have churn. Parents come and go, families come and go, and we should constantly be in the community making sure everybody's aware that we are a wonderful school that they have as a choice.
Sounds good to me. You guys have talked about a lot.
Yeah.
We'll just wait to keep hearing about what goes down. I'm gonna do this next two pretty quickly. SAC, the big thing they did recently was going over the UIP, and we've already talked about it. Robin did a great job working with the folks in the school to finish it up and been there. Grievance, it's Emily and Adam. I personally have not been alerted to any new grievances that have come through. Sometimes I get a heads up. And they did work on the grievance policy, putting it together, but I would really like for them to be a part of the discussion. So I'm going to push that to next meeting. If anybody has any objections to that, let me know. Otherwise, I'm just going to circle back to finance, if that's okay.
Hello? I must have been muted before. I was asking if I could share my screen, and next thing I know, we're talking about something else.
Yeah, you were. Let
Well,
me
I had a whole conversation with myself.
go ahead and try. If it doesn't work, let me know. I am running that Zoom on my end on another computer.
I think it's going to work.
Okay.
Worse yet, Jen held a vote and the majority won.
I was listening the whole time. I just didn't know what happened. Okay, so you guys, can you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so how do I move this? So your things in my, oh, here we go. Okay, so as you can see from here, we're still working with our 379 estimated pupil count. That does not include preschoolers. We are, what, second month, because this is based on 8/31, we're at 16% of the budget, meaning the budget is 100%, we're 2 months in, we're at 16%. The yellow items on here are just some accounting things that have changed for this year that we didn't have in the budget, but it doesn't really change the budget per se. Because of free lunches, it's going to be reimbursed to us differently. I just thought it would come in as concession revenue, but it's actually going to be broken up by breakfast and lunches and state and federal. So it's just some adjustments I have to make. I talked to Dr. Gary last week. This estimated 10,248 for PPR still sounds like a good number. So with being full, I don't know what the exact number is here, but we're at least 10 or 11 more students. So that'll be like another 100 grand. Come on, Dewey's Dash. That's what's gonna populate right here. So we're hoping for 65 from donations, mainly from PTA. 16% of budget. Our biggest expense being benefits and salaries. We're tracking perfectly. So that's the one I worry about. That's the first numbers I look at when I run my report. When we adjust the budget next, these green items are what I'm going to be adjusting. I'm obviously going to have to put more money into this pot because we took on tuition for not only middle school, but some other teachers based on our tuition policy for Montessori training. This also includes any PD that the teachers take. So like required reading and different conferences they go to. So we're just we knew going in, but we just didn't know how much. We're gonna need to adjust that up a little bit. Some of these items that aren't in line with the 16%, something like this is front-loaded expenses. This is printing of all the workbooks in the beginning of the school year. Same with this one. We're almost at the end of the budget because I paid for the lease in full and now I'm just paying for Connexes a few $100s a month. So we will track on there. The insurance is premium billing, so I'm paying chunks at a time. So right now I'm at a higher amount. This was a weird one. We sell yearbooks at the end of the year and then we get a kickback from the sales, and I randomly got a check in the summer and there it is. So we've got a little extra revenue there. Our IntelliTech, our IT people, were able to offered to sell us some used computers, and we had teachers on Windows 5 and they basically weren't even going to be able to support those computers. So we really didn't have a choice. We spent about 13 to 15,000. I think I have one more bill coming, and that was for new devices for staff. Clinic supplies. I mean, we just basically threw out all the Band-Aids that wouldn't stick anymore and refreshed the health room, and we're good for the year there. And instructional material, same situation, front-loaded expense. I just had to request a credit increase on my card because I'm still purchasing like crazy. Overall, awesome, 10%, not even close to 16, and we're still in our coverage ratio, 1.32.
Just for the board's sake, so this is our current budget. What does our reserves look like after some of the conversations we've had tonight? Just so people understand where we sit off the top of your head. Do you know what that looks like?
Show you right here. Can you still see this? 1.484.
Okay.
So
does that help people when we talk about the roof?
yeah.
Yeah, you should have started with that. I would have been less nauseous.
She did say pay out of reserves, but you didn't know how much.
I just didn't know the number. Yeah. And the reserves
so this
are
number also doesn't include what we're hoping to put in between 100 and 250,000 this year, nor the $50,000 line item we have for contingency.
Right, that was newly added with this budget.
Yeah,
right,
so we have money. We need a new roof. Let's do it, people.
Question, you said does the main building need a roof too?
It's getting there.
So I need to find that report that I have. It's a year old now, so I'm gonna have to see if I can.
It's not any better.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly when the reports come out, but I thought it was yearly, and it goes through the entire building from HVACs to roof to carpets to, water heaters, and it's everything for the building. And
our plumbing is getting wacky too.
And there are definitely things that need to be done in the south building that we need to make sure that if it doesn't come to mind, we have to purposefully put it into our discussions rather than just moving along and forgetting about it.
Quick question. Could the roofers we're negotiating with now potentially, would there be a break if we were to do both buildings with the same roofer and contract at the same time? Obviously, you couldn't do it while the kids are in the building, but maybe they could do it across winter break or spring break or something like that. Yeah, summer.
Pre-contracted for it.
Pre-contracted and yeah.
I can look at that report and see what it says. We could also just ask them to do a walk of it and see what they're seeing. Nick has been up there multiple times. I can ask him what he thinks as well. It's not a bad idea to see if we could get a little bit of a break if we did them both. I don't know what the life expectancy of that was last I saw the report, which was last time I looked at it was last January. So I need to go back through.
We had to have the roofers out on Monday because the art room was leaking.
Oh, yeah, let's just have them give us a price, see what it would be to us.
Well, again, if we're sitting on almost $1.5 million in reserve and we're going to put another 100 and potentially 50,000 back, we'd still be sitting over $1 million in reserve.
And we can't do anything more inside until we take care of outside.
Right.
Okay.
And you don't want you don't want to do this all over again in 2 to 3 years.
Mhm.
No, I became good friends with the roofer last week. I'll just call him back on his cell phone.
Just text him right now. Throw me a quote for the other building.
All right, so we'll look into that. It's not a bad idea, Justin.
Does
No
anybody have
point.
any questions for me?
Thanks, Jen.
That was helpful.
No problem.
Do you need the budget voted on, or is that just at the,
Just if we change it. And
Okay, got
after
it.
we get count, Justin, myself, and Robin should meet and discuss and then present that to the finance committee, and then we'll present it to the board.
okay,
So probably November, December, depending on when we get our final count.
okay, sounds good.
Thank you.
Mhm. All right.
Sorry about earlier.
I'm just gonna keep rolling. So PTA update.
Yeah, okay, so the PTA meets on the second Tuesdays of the month, and they met on September 12th, most recently. On a membership report, they reported out that there are now 39 signed up members in the PTA. I think they talked about the back to school night, which Robin's already touched on, how successful that went, and the picnic. Dewey's Dash is the big thing right now, as we've discussed a few times. So that kicked off last Friday, and so Jen, you mentioned 65K in the budget. I've got in the notes a goal of 41,000 is what they're targeting. But in any event, fundraising has kicked off in earnest, and they've got the prize sheets have been rolled out, and I think they've gone classroom to classroom to start pumping that up. Dewey's Dash again is October 5th and 6th for the different grade levels. They are looking for volunteers, so anyone that's able to make time or round up other folks to help out with the event would be helpful. Let's see. There were 2 grant requests that the PTA did vote on. One was for Lower L. They approved $500 for plastic totes for classroom playground equipment. And then the other item was the Dewey's Dash Committee had a request to increase the prize budget to compensate staff that are offering help with experiential prizes. So there's a number of those that I think were described on one of the sheets that went around, just different types of events for experiences rather than just trinkets. Last item I have on the notes is that they did again reiterate the ask for volunteers, just because it is a big event and they could use anybody that's able to help out. And then I think that's it. Next meeting I think will be after Dewey's Dash. So at this point, anybody that's able to help, great to sign up. That's all I got.
Thank you. Okay, so JCSC, Jefferson Charter School Consortium, I think is what it stands for. Sorry, I'm finding my stuff on my computer. So we met last week, and then next meeting will be in November. There was a lot of follow-up from what was talked about last year with changes that the Jefferson County has put in place. The process for charter school renewals is being changed again. The new executive director of charter schools has been working really hard on some policy updates and process updates for charter schools. She has already sent out the new form for those who are renewing this year, so we were not included, but I think Robin, you were able to see what that looks like. She said she sent it out to principals, and then it's going to continue to be adjusted if needed, and she will send it out again. But that process last year, which committees were looking at it and which ones were approving it, was very different than it had been in the past. That is changing again in a more positive way. There's going to be a letter written from JCSC asking that it go back to how it used to be. And then JCSC is also going to write a separate letter asking about get the schools getting a report on the 5% of the revenue that the county or the Jeffco schools keeps and what that money is going towards, because some of what we get from the school system was changed last year. For example, the insurance situation, and now we get our own policies rather than having the district cover that. So that was a lot of the discussion. The other piece of it is that we talked about the fact that school board members are changing out. And there is concern of who's going to take their spots. Are they going to be pro charter or are they not? There is a school board candidate forum that is being put on by JCSC specifically on November 7th for the election. November 7th is the election. The date of the forum is September 27th. So next week, Wednesday from 6:30 to 8 at Aidenbrook Classical Academy, which is in Lakewood, but it's south of Hamden, just a little bit east of Wadsworth. So it's not that far from most of our community. Would love it if people can attend, get as much information, ask as many questions as possible. At the time of the meeting last week for JCSC, we did not know if it was going to be live streamed or not. They were still working on that piece of it. So we're going to send that information out to our families. Anybody in the charter school community is welcome to attend, because the way those school board elections go will have an impact on how the district works with and views charter schools. But I have to be honest, I really like the work that our new executive director of charter schools is doing, trying to clean up policies. And I feel really positive about the relationship that we as MPA have with her at this point in time. So,
And if I might add, Ari, so I did forward you the application, but let me know if you don't have it. It was probably like a week ago. You can let me know if you didn't get it. and
I
I'll send it again.
received it from you. I didn't look at it in detail.
Okay, yeah, that's
Um,
fine. Okay, I just want to make sure you got it. You know, I
but-
did for, oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'm going to let it go just for a little bit before I
Yeah.
really look into it. The due date for the schools that are renewing this year, I think, is November.
Yeah.
And so they're going through that process, and any concerns or questions they have with that form, my instinct is it's going to be addressed and it's
Right.
going to be updated. So I don't think it's worth stressing over at this point in time.
Right, I agree. Yeah.
I'm
we had to get
asking
the UI.
questions as to who's gonna, because Dr. Teo Adiko updated everybody last week at the JCSC meeting that process is not going to be in the same committees. And so I just turned to her and I said, but who is going to review it this year? And I think that's still being discussed because it was a new decision that had just come from a meeting with the district. So I'm sort of letting that process in terms of decisions and kind of the whole system work itself out a little bit before I question it too much.
Yeah. Yeah, and just, you know, I failed to mention this when I talked about SAC. We did have, so Beth McDonald had our district accountability rep come to our SAC meeting and introduce herself. And she really emphasized that this meeting we're talking about next week, the importance of attending. I did not realize this, that last year, charter renewals and charter applications, I think, were also approved by, not, it used to be just the board, and correct me if I'm wrong, but last year it was also the district accountability committee,
was
which
the
makes
DAC,
no
yeah.
sense. Yeah, and that's, I think, not what we want.
No, that's been changed. The district
Okay.
said the DAC will no longer review charter
Okay.
applications. That was announced in the JCSC meeting, and that's when I said, but who will? And I know Dr. Adiko wrote that down, or is going to
Okay.
follow up on that process, and I'm going to follow up on it at the next JCSC meeting, but I don't have answers for that part yet.
Mhm.
And yes, the district accountability meeting is a great place for us to have representation. Parents can view that. They have some room for charter members. Unfortunately, nobody from our board can join. They meet on the third Tuesday of the month.
Mhm.
But parents from our community or parents from our SAC group can join that.
Right, and they are looking for another representative. I do know that. Mhm.
So it was a very informative meeting. I feel like it's really helpful to go, to listen, to be a part of it, to take notes, ask questions. Any board member is welcome to come with me. The next one is the first Wednesday of November, I think, but the location has not been announced. It'll be at 5:30, just like before. So I think that's it for JCSC. It's a lot this time. What's next? Okay, so the next part is security cameras. So as everybody knows, we talked about this last time. We had somebody come on to the meeting. I would like to talk about the different vendors and talk about the security camera situation. I know Adam updated a couple of different board members individually for the sake of the security of the school, as well as discussing the negotiations and the contracts from different vendors appropriately, I would like that to happen in executive session. But in order to go into executive session, we have to vote. So if anybody has the agenda in front of them, and if you don't, I do have the specific legal letters and numbers that you have to mention when motioning that if you need help. Somebody.
Do you just want me to read this off bullet point 9 then?
We have to
Motion to go-
motion to go into,
Yeah,
Yeah.
you want me to motion to go into executive session under CRS? Okay. How do you say that little weird thing in front of the two?
just CRS and then 24 dash.
I'm kidding.
whatever.
Okay, I
will.
motion to go into executive session under CRS 24-6-402 4D security arrangements and to discuss, or I should say, NCRS 24-6-402 4E. While determining contract negotiation strategies, the board will discuss updating security camera hardware for MPA and the contracts presented to the board from potential vendors. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
I believe Ted seconded it.
Rebecca, can you take the vote?
Yes. Okay. Irit,
Yes.
Justin,
Yes.
Mercedes.
Yes.
I am a yes, and Ted.
Yes.
Okay,
So
motion
that-
passed.
The motion passes. We will go into executive session. Regrouping, we are now out of executive session. And I'm gonna let somebody motion as needed.
Bueller.
All right, so hold on a second. All right, yeah, I can do that. All right. I will move to approve the security camera contract as discussed in executive session, that price limit, including north and south buildings.
Second.
Rebecca, can you take the vote?
Hold on, still taping. Give me a second.
Okay.
Give me just a sec. All right. Adam,
Yes.
Irit,
Yes.
Justin,
Yes.
Mercedes.
Yes.
I am a yes, and Ted.
Yes.
That's everybody.
Thanks, guys. And as I get more information, I will send it out to everybody for review, just so everybody can see it. I'm gonna go ahead and skip the board calendar. I will individually get in touch with Emily once she's feeling better, and just make sure we haven't missed anything. And then approving the minutes from the August 22nd board meeting is the next thing on our agenda. So we need a motion. Unless anybody has clarifications or corrections to it.
I'll move to approve the minutes from the August 22nd meeting.
I'll second. This is Justin.
Thank you for that. Give me just a second. I'm gonna pull those up so I know who to ask for that.
I think everybody was there, but I could be wrong. Just
Okay,
everybody
it's
here.
okay. Let me just grab that email really fast so I can read it off. Okay. Adam,
Yes.
Irit,
Yes.
Justin,
Yes.
Mercedes.
Yes.
I am a yes. Ted.
Yes.
Okay, that one passed as well.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. I know we talked about some difficult budgetary items tonight, but I think they're all necessary to discuss and give people time to think about and make the right decisions for the school in the long term, considering both buildings as we look at the future of MPA, not just one or the other. So with that, I hope everybody is doing well getting into September. I know it is cold and the beginning of flu season and back to COVID season all over again. Please take care of yourselves and do what you need to do for you and your families. And with that, I guess I would love to motion to adjourn, but I don't think I can.
Motion to adjourn. This is Justin.
All right. And with that, we're done. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
8:30 on the nose.
Thanks.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.